My name is Sarah Whitfield, and at 31 years old, I had built a life that most people only dream about. My veterinary clinic in downtown Portland had just been featured in a local magazine, and the penthouse loft I closed on 6 months ago sat 14 stories above the Willamette River with floor-to-ceiling windows that made the city's skyline feel like it belonged to me. So when I called my mother on a Tuesday evening and said I cannot wait to see Dad's face when he opens my gift this Saturday, she went quiet. Not the kind of quiet where someone is thinking or distracted. The kind of quiet that carries weight. The kind that makes your stomach drop before a single word is spoken. "Sweetheart," she finally said, her voice thin and careful. "Your father's birthday party was 2 weeks ago. If you have ever been erased by the people who were supposed to love you most, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe, because I am about to tell you how my own sister orchestrated my disappearance from our family, and what happened when she had the nerve to ask me for a favor afterward. Growing up, I worshipped my older sister Rachel. She was 4 years ahead of me in everything, and for most of my childhood that gap felt like she existed in some glamorous, unreachable future I was always chasing. Rachel was the one who taught me how to French braid my own hair the summer before 5th grade, sitting cross-legged on her bedroom floor with a hand mirror propped against the wall so I could watch myself learn. She was the one who let me sleep in her bed during thunderstorms even when she was 16 and I was 12, and her friends would have called it babyish. When our golden retriever Biscuit got hit by a car in front of our house, I was 9 years old and inconsolable. Dad was at work. Mom was running errands. It was Rachel who wrapped Biscuit in a blanket, drove to the emergency vet with her brand new learner's permit, and held my hand in the waiting room for 3 hours until the vet told us he would pull through. That was the day I decided I wanted to be a veterinarian. Not because of the doctor who saved Biscuit, but because of the way Rachel looked at me in that waiting room and said, "We are not leaving until he is okay." She meant it, and I believed her. Our parents were good people but stretched thin in the way that a lot of middle-class families are. Dad managed a regional office for an insurance company. Mom taught 3rd grade at the elementary school 2 blocks from our house. They loved us completely, but their energy was rationed. Dinners were sometimes cereal. Permission slips got signed at the last minute in the car. Parent-teacher conferences were attended by whichever parent could leave work early. In that environment, Rachel and I became each other's constant. She proofread my college essays. I made her flashcards for the bar exam. When she passed on her first try, I screamed so loud our neighbor called to make sure nobody was hurt. Rachel married Mark Ellison when she was 27. He was a real estate developer she met through a mutual friend at a holiday party. Charming in that practiced way where every compliment sounds rehearsed if you listen closely enough. The first time I met him, he shook my hand and said, "Rachel tells me you are the smart one in the family." He smiled when he said it, but the words landed wrong, like a compliment aimed at me that was really a dig at her. I dismissed it. People say awkward things when they are nervous. The wedding was small and beautiful. I was maid of honor. During my toast, I told the story about Biscuit and the emergency vet, and said that Rachel had taught me what it means to show up for someone completely, and that I knew she would bring that same fierce loyalty to her marriage. Rachel cried. Mark looked at his phone. In the years that followed, I watched my sister change in ways so gradual they were almost invisible. Rachel had always been confident and opinionated, but after marrying Mark, those qualities calcified into something harder. She became competitive in ways she never had been before, especially with me. When I got accepted into veterinary school, Rachel's congratulations came with a caveat. "That is great, Sarah, but vet school debt is brutal. Are you sure this is the right financial move?" When I graduated top of my class, she mentioned how Mark's cousin also became a vet, but ended up switching to pharmaceutical sales because the money is so much better. When I opened my own clinic at 28, Rachel visited once. She walked through the space, looked around, and said, "It is cute. A little small, but cute." Meanwhile, Rachel and Mark's life looked perfect from the outside. He had transitioned from development into luxury property management, and they had moved into a gated community outside the city. Rachel quit practicing law to manage their social calendar, which seemed to be a full-time occupation. Their Instagram was a curated gallery of wine tastings, charity galas, and European vacations. But in private phone calls with me, Rachel sometimes let the mask slip. "Mark thinks I should wait before going back to work," she said once when I asked about her returning to law. "He says it would look weird if his wife was billing hours at a mid-level firm when he is closing 7-figure deals." I told her that was ridiculous. She changed the subject and did not bring it up again. The distance between us grew so slowly, I kept finding reasons to explain it away. Rachel was busy with her social obligations. Mark preferred to spend holidays with his side of the family. The group chat that used to ping constantly with jokes and photos went quiet for days, then weeks at a time. When I tried to plan our traditional sisters' weekend, the annual trip we had taken every fall since I turned 21, Rachel canceled 3 years in a row. Mark surprised me with a trip to Napa, she said the first time. The second time she had a migraine. The third time she simply never responded to my texts about dates, and I stopped asking. When I found my penthouse loft, it was actually my mother who sent me the listing. "This has your name written all over it," her text said. The place was a raw industrial space that needed complete renovation, but the bones were extraordinary. Exposed brick 14-foot ceilings and those windows. I spent 4 months overseeing the transformation, pouring my design ideas into every detail. Custom built-in shelving. A reading nook tucked into the corner where the morning light pooled. A balcony garden I planted myself with herbs and wildflowers that attracted hummingbirds by midsummer. Rachel saw photos on Instagram and called for the first time in weeks. "How much did that cost?" she asked before even saying it looked nice. When I told her, she laughed. "Must be nice being single with no real expenses." I had a mortgage, a business loan, and a clinic payroll that I met every 2 weeks, but I did not bother correcting her. Some conversations are not worth the energy. Dad's 60th birthday had been on the calendar for months. Not officially planned, but understood. He was not the type to make a fuss about himself, but 60 felt significant. In February, Mom mentioned she wanted to do something special. Maybe a big dinner or a party at the house. I offered to help coordinate. "That would be wonderful," she said. "Let me talk to your sister and we will figure out the details." Weeks passed. When I followed up, Mom said Rachel had volunteered to handle everything. "She has more time than you do, honey. You are so busy with the clinic. Let her take the lead." I was relieved, honestly. March and April were my busiest months. A complicated surgery on a German Shepherd with a spinal condition had me at the clinic until 9 most nights. I trusted Rachel to keep me in the loop. In early April, I texted Rachel directly. "Hey, what is the plan for Dad's birthday? Do you need help with anything?" She replied the next day. "All handled. May 17th. Keeping it simple. Dinner at Mom and Dad's. I will send details soon." May 17th. I marked it in my calendar. Bought a gift weeks in advance. Dad had been talking about wanting to learn woodworking since he retired the previous year, so I found a premium tool set from a specialty shop in Vermont and had it engraved with his initials and the words "Building New Dreams at 60. I wrapped it myself. I requested the day off from the clinic. I even booked a blowout at a salon downtown because I knew Rachel would have the whole event photographed and posted within the hour. On May 14th, a Wednesday, I called Mom to ask what I should bring. Her phone went to voicemail. I tried Dad. Same thing. I texted Rachel. "Hey, just confirming Saturday. Should I bring a side dish or dessert?" No response. By Thursday evening, I had heard nothing from anyone. I told myself they were busy with last-minute preparations. On Friday, I tried Rachel again. "Hey, everything good for tomorrow?" She replied 4 hours later. "Yep, all set. See you there." Saturday morning, I woke up early, showered, put on the dress I had picked out. Drove an hour and 40 minutes to my parents' house carrying the engraved tool set and a bottle of Dad's favorite bourbon. When I pulled into the driveway, the house was dark. No cars, no balloons, no sign of any party. I sat in my car for a full minute thinking I had the time wrong. Maybe it was an evening event. I called Mom. She answered on the 3rd ring. "Hey, I am at the house. What time does everything start?" That silence again. The same one from the Tuesday call, but heavier, because now I was sitting in their empty driveway holding a gift. "Sarah, honey. The party was on May 3rd, 2 weeks ago." I actually laughed. "That is not possible." Rachel told me May 17th. I have the text. There was a date change back in April. Rachel sent out an updated email to everyone. Did you not get it? I opened my email right there in the car. Nothing from Rachel in April. Nothing in my spam folder either. No updated invitation. No follow-up, nothing. Mom. No one called me. No one asked why I was not there. Another silence. Then her voice smaller than I had ever heard it. "Rachel told us you knew about the change. She said you had a work emergency and could not make it. She said you felt terrible but sent your love." She said what? I stared at my parents' dark house. The tool set sat in the passenger seat. The bourbon caught the morning light. I had driven 100 minutes to attend a party that happened 14 days ago, while my entire family believed I had chosen not to come. Why did no one call me? Why did Dad not call me on his actual birthday to say thank you or to ask where I was? I did call you on my birthday. Dad's voice came on the line. Mom must have put me on speaker. I called and you did not answer. I figured you were tied up at work like Rachel said. I checked my call history. May uchde. One missed call from Dad at 6:47 p.m. I had been in surgery. A cat with a ruptured intestine. I called back the next morning, but Dad did not pick up. I left a voicemail saying happy belated birthday. He never mentioned a party. I did not know I whispered. I thought it was the 17th. Nobody told me it changed. The drive home was the longest hour and 40 minutes of my life. I pulled over twice because I could not see the road through tears. When I got back to my loft, I opened Facebook. The photos were everywhere. My parents' backyard strung with lights. A banner that read Happy 60th Jim. Rachel and Mark posing with Dad by a 3-tiered cake. Cousins I had not seen in years. My college roommate Priya, who my mother must have invited. Everyone was there, laughing, clinking glasses, hugging my father. One photo destroyed me more than the others. Dad standing in front of a table piled with gifts, his face glowing. Behind him on the wall, Rachel had hung a collage of family photos spanning his entire life. Baby pictures, graduations, holidays. I zoomed in on every frame. I was not in a single one. I called Rachel. She answered casually as if nothing in the world could possibly be wrong. Hey Sarah, what is up? The party was 2 weeks ago. A pause. Yeah, we had to move it up because of Mark's travel schedule. I sent an email. You did not send me anything, Rachel. I checked everywhere. That is weird. I definitely sent it. Maybe it went to spam. It is not in spam. And you told Mom and Dad I knew about the change. You told them I had a work emergency. Another pause. Longer this time. I was trying to cover for you, Sarah. I figured you forgot and I did not want you to look bad. You figured I forgot our father's 60th birthday. You have been so busy with your clinic. You barely come to family stuff anymore. The lie was so clean, so practiced, that I realized this was not a spontaneous cover story. This was planned. Just like the wrong date. Just like the silence in the weeks leading up to May 3rd. Just like the photo collage with every family member except me. Why? I asked. Just tell me why. I do not know what you are talking about. Rachel, I am not going to ask again. She exhaled hard. Fine. You want the truth. Every single family event becomes the Sarah show. Dad brags about your clinic nonstop. Mom sends me links to your magazine feature every other week. Even at Mark's company dinner last year, someone asked if I was related to the vet with the downtown practice. Do you know how that feels? To be constantly compared to your little sister. So you erased me from Dad's birthday. I gave him a beautiful party. 60 people came. Everyone had an amazing time. Everyone except me. She hung up. I sat on my balcony for hours that night, watching the city lights blur through tears that came and went like waves. The gift I had spent weeks choosing sat untouched in my hallway. The dress I had carefully selected hung over the back of a chair. I had been removed from my own family like a photo cropped out of a frame, and the person who did it was the same girl who once drove to an emergency vet on a learner's permit because she could not bear to see me cry. 3 days later, Mom appeared at my door unannounced. She looked tired. Your sister and I had a long talk, she said, sitting on my couch. She admitted she gave you the wrong date. She says it was not malicious, just poor communication. She told me it was intentional, Mom. She said she was tired of me getting attention at family events. Mom looked like I had slapped her. She said that. I showed her the text exchange. Rachel's exact words on my screen. Mom read them twice. I did not know, she finally said. I thought she simply made a mistake and panicked. A mistake is forgetting to send one email. This was a strategy. Wrong date. No follow-up. A cover story ready to go. A photo collage of Dad's life that does not include a single picture of me. That is not a mistake. Mom started crying. I almost comforted her. Almost. But I was so tired of being the person who managed everyone else's emotions while my own went unacknowledged. What do you want me to do? She asked. I want you to stop making excuses for Rachel. I want Dad to hear the truth from you, not her version, and I want acknowledgement that this was wrong. Not unfortunate. Not a miscommunication. Wrong. She nodded slowly. She left an hour later looking 10 years older than when she arrived. Dad called that evening. His voice was different, heavy with something I had never heard from him before. Real anger. Your mother told me everything, he said. I am heartsick, Sarah. That you missed my birthday because of this. That I believed you chose not to come. I should have pushed harder when you did not show up. I should have called more than once. It is not your fault, Dad. Maybe not entirely, but I should have known something was off. You have never missed anything important in my life. Not once. The fact that I accepted the excuse without questioning it. That is on me. His voice broke on the last word. In 31 years, I had never heard my father cry. 2 weeks of silence followed. Then Rachel called. Not to apologize, to ask a favor. So Mark and I are planning a dinner party for his business partners, she began, as if our last conversation had not happened. We have been looking at venues, but honestly, nothing has the right vibe. Then I thought of your place. Your loft would be perfect. Those windows. That view. Mark says it would really impress the right people. I held the phone away from my face for a moment, stared at it, brought it back. You want to use my penthouse for Mark's business dinner? It would only be like 25 people, 30 max. We would handle all the catering and setup. You would not have to lift a finger. The penthouse that I bought, that I renovated, that you called small when you visited the one time you bothered to come. I did not call it small. You called it cute, which is worse. Sarah, come on, this is not about us. This is business for Mark. It could be a huge deal for him. Then Mark can rent a venue. Her voice sharpened. You know this is your problem, right? You hold grudges. You make everything about yourself. I threw you a bone by keeping you in the loop about Dad's party, and you turned it into a federal case. You gave me the wrong date on purpose. I made a mistake. You told me 5 minutes ago it was not about us. Now it is a mistake. Which lie are we going with today, Rachel? She hung up again. That seemed to be her signature move when the truth got uncomfortable. Within the hour, my phone exploded. Mom called first. Sarah, your sister is very upset. She says you were cruel to her on the phone. Then a text from Mark. Rachel is in tears. I hope you are proud of yourself. All she wanted was to include you. Then a call from Aunt Linda. Honey, I know things are tense, but family has to stick together. Can you just let them use the apartment? It would mean so much. The coordinated pressure campaign arrived so fast I realized Rachel must have had the calls queued up. A script ready for everyone to follow. Poor Rachel. Difficult Sarah. If she would just cooperate, everything would be fine. I let every call go to voicemail. Then I sat down and typed a message to the family group chat that I had been mostly silent in for years. I want to make sure everyone has the full picture. Rachel deliberately gave me the wrong date for Dad's 60th birthday. She told the family I knew about the change and had a work conflict. Neither was true. She has admitted this to me directly. I have the text messages. Now she has asked to use my home for Mark's business dinner, and when I declined, she called several of you to pressure me into saying yes. I love this family, but I will not be manipulated or erased anymore. My home is not available. My boundaries are not negotiable. I hit send and turned off my phone. When I turned it back on the next morning, there were 47 messages. Some were exactly what I expected. Aunt Linda saying I was being dramatic. Mark calling me vindictive. Rachel's best friend Courtney, who was in the group chat for some reason, saying this is a family matter, and I should handle it privately. But others surprised me. My cousin Jenna wrote, I believe you, Sarah. Rachel pulled something similar with my wedding seating chart last year, and I was too embarrassed to say anything. Uncle Pete, Dad's brother, said simply, that is not how we treat family. Period. And Dad wrote 4 words that made me sob at my kitchen counter. I am with Sarah. The weeks that followed were painful and clarifying in equal measure. Rachel did not speak to me. Mom tried to play mediator, calling every few days with updates on Rachel's emotional state, as if I were supposed to feel guilty for refusing to be erased. I told Mom gently but firmly that I loved her, but I would not discuss Rachel unless Rachel was ready to have an honest conversation directly with me. I went back to Dr. Reeves, the therapist I had seen during a rough patch after a breakup in my late 20s. She helped me see patterns I had been blind to. The way I had always been the accommodating one in my family. The way Rachel's competitiveness had escalated after I opened the clinic, and especially after I bought the penthouse. The way my parents had unconsciously enabled the dynamic by praising my achievements in front of Rachel without recognizing how it landed. Your success is not the problem, Dr. Reeves said. The problem is that your family system assigned you the role of the one who adjusts, the one who forgives first, the one who gives in. When you stopped playing that role, the whole system broke. She was right. And for the first time, I did not want to fix the system. I wanted to build something new. I started small. Weekly dinners with Priya and my clinic partner Dominic, who had been quietly furious on my behalf since learning what happened. I hosted a 4th of July barbecue on my balcony and invited the people who had shown up for me. Dad came without Mom. He stood at my windows watching fireworks over the river and said, "This place is not cute, it is spectacular. You built something incredible here, kid." It took Rachel 3 months to reach out. Her text was brief. "Can we have lunch?" We met at a neutral restaurant. She looked thinner, tired, her fingernails bitten to the quick, which she used to do in high school when she was stressed. "Mark and I are in counseling," she said before the waiter even brought water. "Things have not been good for a while. He has been controlling about money, about my career, about everything. The birthday party was supposed to be my thing, my project, and I let my own garbage ruin it." I listened without interrupting. I had practiced this with Dr. Reeves. Listening without rescuing. "I was jealous of you," she continued, her voice cracking. "You have this life that you built completely on your own terms, your own business, your own home, no one telling you what you can and cannot do. And instead of being proud of my little sister, I resented you for it. That is my fault, not yours. I appreciated the honesty, Rachel. But I need you to understand something. You did not just give me the wrong date. You removed me from the photo collage. You told our parents a lie so convincing that Dad spent 2 weeks thinking his daughter chose not to celebrate his birthday. That is not a mistake you apologize for over salads." She nodded, tears falling into her untouched bread plate. "I know. So what now?" "I do not know. But I wanted to start with the truth. Even if it is ugly, we did not hug when we left. We did not make plans for a follow-up. But something had shifted. Not forgiveness. Not yet. Something more fundamental. Honesty where there had been performance. Clarity where there had been manipulation. The healing came slowly over months. Mom eventually stopped trying to mediate and started listening. She admitted that she had noticed Rachel's jealousy years ago, but avoided confronting it because she did not want to take sides. Dad and I grew closer than we had been since I was a teenager. He started coming to Portland once a month for lunch, always making a point to walk through my clinic and pet whatever dogs happened to be in the waiting room. Rachel and I rebuilt on different terms. She started therapy on her own. She began studying for the bar exam again after years away from law. When she passed for the second time in her life, I sent flowers and a card that said, "I am proud of you," and I meant it. On Dad's 61st birthday, I hosted dinner at my loft. A small gathering. Mom, Dad, Rachel, a few cousins, Dominic, Priya, no assigned seating, no curated photo collage, just food and honesty and the imperfect love of people who were trying to do better. After dinner, Rachel found me on the balcony. The city hummed below us. She leaned against the railing and looked out at the river. "I am sorry," she said again. "Not for the first time and probably not for the last. I know. Your loft really is incredible, by the way. I should have said that a long time ago." I smiled. "It is not bad." We stood there in comfortable silence, watching the lights shimmer on the water. The old ache was still there, probably always would be, but it had softened into something I could carry without it breaking me, a scar instead of an open wound. Later that night, after everyone had gone, I found Dad's gift from the previous year still sitting on my bookshelf, the engraved tool set, Building New Dreams at 60. I had never given it to him. The timing had never felt right after everything that happened. I wrapped it again, drove it to his house the next morning, left it on the porch with a note that said "better late than never." He called me that afternoon. I could hear him smiling through the phone. You know what he said. "I think 61 is going to be my best year yet." Have you ever had someone in your family try to erase you from an important moment? How did you handle it? I would love to hear your stories in the comments. Sometimes the people who hurt us most are the ones sitting at our own dinner table. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear that setting boundaries is not selfish. It is survival. Thank you for listening, and remember, your presence matters even when someone tries to convince you it does not.